Brian Windhorst, ESPN national columnist, talking about the short-term and long-term view of the Cavs moving forward. This from ESPN's NBA Countdown.
They're 16-2. J.B. Bickerstaff is a chance for Coach of the Year. Donovan Mitchell's probably going to make the All-NBA team again. Jared Allen should be on the All-Defensive team. They've played awesome. That's great. Then you look a little bit farther and you see what the real challenge is tonight and going forward, which is Jared Allen and Evan Mobley sharing the court together. They are extremely talented. Both are playing well, but they just aren't effective because the Cavs can't spread the floor. When they've played together this year, the Cavs have outscored opponents by 38 points. That's really good. When Jared Allen has played with Dean Wade, who was the replacement starter while Mobley was out with a knee injury, almost plus 200. They don't work well together and as well as they need to, and that is an issue. Because the third layer is that this summer, yes, you've got the Donovan Mitchell contract. That's a big thing for the franchise. But also Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are contract extension eligible. And you've got to figure out, if you're the Cavs, if they're going to work together, if you're going to give them 9-figure extensions.
Whew, look, that right there, you working it. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if the Cavs make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Chris, those are all valid points. The one thing I'd say about Evan Mobley, he's 22 years old and coming off an injury. His game today isn't going to be the same it is next year, even come playoff time. But you hear at the end, would you be surprised if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? I mean, they're in the 2 seed.
Well, Dave, I think it depends on matchups. I think this is a team that where they go, how far they go, is going to depend on what seed they get and who they face up with in the first round of the playoffs, then the second round of the playoffs, and ultimately, if they can get to the conference finals, I think it's going to be dependent on the path that they have to take in order to get there. And I'll say this, like being in the 2 seed, theoretically, should be advantageous for this team. Because if you think about it, coming into this year, there was so much conversation about, okay, whoever you had in whatever order, it was Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, the top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference. Write that in pen. Oops, that hasn't been the case. In saying that, because you had that feeling coming into the year, you were thinking, okay, Cavs in the 4, 5, or 6. So that means maybe a collision course with New York in the first round of the playoffs, maybe a matchup with the Indiana Pacers in the first round of the playoffs. Whatever the case may be, you felt like that first round matchup was going to be a little bit more challenging from the Cavs' perspective, right? And now you've got a situation where they're the 2 seed and they would be playing the 7 seed in the East. Like, theoretically, that's a better matchup for them. And being in the 2 seed also means avoiding playing the Boston Celtics potentially until the conference finals. So they're in a good spot here to potentially make a deep run if they can hang on to the 2 seed. I think everybody in the East, if they want to compete for a championship and represent the East in the NBA Finals, the best path is going to be avoid playing against the Boston Celtics for as long as you possibly can. And right now, as it stands, the Cavs would avoid doing that until the conference finals.
The part that we heard about Allen and Mobley together, Mobley's game is evolving. It needs to evolve to where they get a little bit better in that point differential on the court. Correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And there are complications for J.B. Bickerstaff when it comes to deciding what to do in end-of-game situations this year that just did not exist last year, Dave. If you think about it, like, just look at how JB has been handling the minutes between both bigs since Evan Mobley came back. Now, yeah, part of it is that Evan is on a minute restriction, and JB has to be cognizant of that. The other part of it is Tristan Thompson is still on a suspension, so Evan Mobley is technically both the starting power forward and the backup center, and that requires JB to stagger Jarrett and Evan, break up their minutes a little bit more throughout the course of the game. But I think that's something that JB wants to do anyway. I think the Cavs believe that they function at their best offensively, Dave, when they've got 4 shooters around 1 big. And this is no offense to Evan Mobley, who has evolved as a shooter. He's shooting it with more confidence. He's got more arc on his outside shot. He's made more threes since coming back from this injury than he did all of the first half of the season before he got injured, but like his game is still primarily predicated inside, and there are spacing issues that come with playing Jared Allen and Evan Mobley together that just don't exist when the four-man is either George Niang or Dean Wade or Max Strus in a small ball lineup or something along those lines. So because JB has a few more options to go to get a little bit of an offensive boost by splitting those two guys up, it's something that he's going to have to consider, especially in end of game situations. Now, obviously, the reason why you have Evan and Jarrett together is because they're so dominant on the defensive end of the floor, and the Cavs are so elite with both of the guys out there together. But if they can gain something offensively while at the same time not taking a drastic step back defensively, then it's something I think JB is going to continue to explore.